What's going on, guys? Welcome into NASCAR by the Numbers. Here we are again for another great show of some NASCAR content. You got regular old me, Will Richard. We've got Armani, always the crazy man with the crazy predictions. And then today we've got is it Brian LaFleur?
You got it.
Brian LaFleur. All right, original Big Bri on Twitter, and I know in the YouTube community a lot of diecast stuff and a lot of paint scheme talk, diecast talk. So. What's going on, everybody? We're all here. Armani apparently skipped the memo of having your NFL team gear on today because today is official kickoff. I mean, I guess Thursday was originally, but today is the first day that matters. Sunday, games everywhere. How's everybody doing? Who's everybody cheering for this Sunday on NFL kickoff?
Fins up, baby. I left my jacket at the house.
Fins up. Then we got Brian over there with the Bills gear on. It's Bills Mafia. I was thinking, like, what is the state? Bills Mafia. So please don't tell me you've ever participated in any of those events, have you?
Sadly not, no. But I mean, heck, if they end up winning the division title this year or the Super Bowl, I mean, watch out for those tables.
I would figure out. I don't know the difference between Bills Mafia and then a TLC wrestling match. You know, there's just as many tables. There's probably more guys through tables at the Bills game than the wrestling match. So, you know, I always figure that's going. Obviously, keep pounding for the Panthers today. Hopefully, we can do something. Not sure how this year is going to look, but let's get into some racing. Obviously, Richmond was last night. Unfortunately, me and Armani Armani was working his regular job. I was at the dirt track working last night at our regularly scheduled program, and so that's the only thing that sucks about Saturday night races is typically I don't get to watch it. I could kind of half watch it. We had a computer set up. We were kind of seeing it. We saw certain moments, and we saw who won live and all that kind of stuff. But Brian, you said you got to watch pretty much the entire race. I heard there was a little bit of, people on social media were kind of battling. It was a really good classic race, but I heard it was clean and green pretty much the entire race. So what did you think about it? Give us a little bit of a breakdown.
I mean, you really didn't really miss much if you watched the Richmond race. I mean, but I think the story of this race was, it was caution free, but Austin Dillon, man, I mean, I don't know where he's been finding the speed, but that was probably the highlight of this race. And of course, Blaney choking in the playoffs like usual. But but teammate Brackazowski got it done, man. And heck, we're gonna watch out and see what that 3-car can pull off at Bristol.
Yeah, it's going to be – I was watching parts and pieces, and so I have a little bit of internet connection in the booth between when I'm down the track and up there. And I saw Twitter was like blowing up about Austin Dillon, and I'm thinking, what is going on? And then the video we were watching was on a delay by like 2 minutes from live. So I was like, all right, apparently we need to watch this. And Austin Dillon passes Kevin Harvick, which I'll be fair, did not know he was on fresh tires at that point, or fresher tires at that point. So, full not having context, I'm like, Austin Dillon just drove by Kevin Harvick. And, it was one of those things where I was telling people, people give Austin Dillon a lot of crap. And Austin Dillon, has Austin Dillon been the best driver in the world? No. But at the time, you got to remember what car he's driving. And I tell people all the time, like, people want him out of the 3-car. He's going to be in the 3-car. He deserves to be in the 3-car. That's his family's organization. I mean, people need to prepare that when the day goes, and hopefully it's another 20 years from now when Richard Childress passes away, it's going to go to the Dillons. That's who's going to run the organization. And so, to me, it's kind of throwback. People kind of give him hell. I was like, if Bill Elliott and them still own the team, that's who Chase would run for. It wouldn't be a Hendrick Motorsports that he'd be signed with. So, but Austin has been showing up to your point. And like I said, me and Armani didn't get to hear. So, Brian, how was the broadcast treating it last night? I mean, were they making a pretty big deal out of it too?
Yeah, they were actually, and they were, focusing on the playoffs and that, and NBC, man. I mean, coverage has been a hit or miss, but the cut to commercials, man, started to get on my last nerves, especially like when it comes down to like 50 or like on the last 20 laps, no side by side coverage, or what's it called, NASCAR nonstop now. Like, I don't know, but
I've been saying for a while, NBC, man. I wish they could come up with a deal to where the last 20 laps, or let's say the last 10% of whatever the race is, however many miles or laps a race is, the last 10%, there's no commercials, unless, of course, there's a caution, red flag, something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's no reason that the last 20 laps at Richmond or the last 30, 40 laps at Richmond should have to have a commercial. Show the freaking race, let it be the finish. Now, Armani, I need your backup here. Your boy has been talking about Ryan Blaney's inconsistencies for 3 years. All right. And I was ticking some people off. So back me up here, Armani. I mean, we've talked about it forever. Ryan Blaney being inconsistent, and here it is, showing up once again.
You always picking all. You always picking something. Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, Jimmy, anything.
Well, I mean, it's just, I like Ryan, great guy, but it just, you look at Jeremy Bullins. I'll be honest, I thought Bullins was a lot of the issue. I really expected that wherever Bullins went, the team still struggled. Okay, well, Keselowski's now won, I believe, 4 races, 3 or 4 races. I mean, where's the excuse at? And I get it. You could sit there, well, it's Brad. And that's my point. It's Brad Keselowski. Ryan Blaney is running the same cars as those 2 guys. And I want to say this. Most organizations, you have a car that is better than the others. I'll be honest, I haven't really seen that at Penske. I think all 3 are pretty fair even. All 3 are capable of winning. It's not like Gibbs where the 20 car is kind of a step behind. I mean, all 3 of those guys are on the same pace with each other, same lap times as each other, can all 3 win races. The other 2 right now, even Logano, who's been nowhere the last 3 months of the season, comfortably in on points right now. Keselowski wins. Ryan Blaney, I know some things didn't help him, the penalty and all that kind of stuff, but here we are, arguably one of the best equipment in the garage, and he's literally 16th on the grid right now.
Here's the thing about Blaney. As soon as he had that issue in Darlington, I know he was going to go to Bristol in a must-win situation because if you know Ryan Blaney, he sucks at Richmond. I believe his average finish is like 24.8. He's never finished inside the top 15 at Richmond. I think he only has 1 lead lap finish at Richmond his entire career. So he needed a good day at Darlington. He didn't get that with the penalty, and then I believe he had a tire cut down.
Yep.
So after that happened, I knew he was going to go into to Bristol in a must-win. And he could very well win Bristol, but, like you said about the inconsistency, like, how many times are we just going to, how many times are we just going to, avoid, talk about, okay, when is Ryan Blaney going to finally just truly step it up?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely got to be a point to where he flips that switch. First thing people want to throw out is the pit crew. All right, all of these guys have pit crews. All of these guys have pit crews that make mistakes. I mean, Chase Elliott's crew chief cost him the Coke 600 because he decided he needed to pit with 2 laps to go because damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, things happen all year long, and you hear this, you hear that, and I get it. That does happen, right? But you remember when Kevin Harvick used to have every pit crew issue in the world? Kevin Harvick used to win 3-4 races a year. And Kevin Harvick, right, he'd still get great finishes. And Ryan Blaney has got to figure that part out. I like Ryan. Ryan's great, but the excuse can't be, well, I'm just bad at Richmond. You've got to figure it out at this point in the year. You've got to straighten things out. But last part of this right here, I heard it went really clean and green and all that, and I've been saying this for a while. So answer the question, and we'll start with Brian. Is Richmond a short track? And I ask this because obviously physically, size, it's a short track. But I've been saying for the last 5 years, I don't know if it's just because of the package or if it's just I don't really have an answer. But Richmond has not raced like a short track in virtually almost 10 years. So is Richmond a short track?
Yeah, I mean, that is a debatable question, and feel free to see what everyone else says in the comments on this stream. But I mean, in my mind, I've been a long time NASCAR fan since 2001. The Richmond that we had in Gen 4 was, I mean, that's probably what made me think of a short track race right there. But yeah, I mean, I get what you mean. We've had action in Martinsville and Bristol, but yeah, I mean, Richmond, it's probably my least favorite short track of the race. But to answer your question, I still think it's considered a short track, but just I don't know, man. I don't think it's a track that's causing this problem. It's just I don't know. It might be the Gen 6 because Richmond race, it was a hit or miss. So
yeah, more money is Richmond a short track.
Richmond, I mean, yeah, obviously it's a short track. I'm of the opinion that anything that's a mile or lower is a short track. So, yes, I consider Phoenix a short track. I consider Dover a short track.
I guess I could maybe see the Dover. I don't know. You're losing me.
It's weird because I think Richmond, it's like, it really is – I think Richmond could be good if it's in the day. because we've seen Richmond races in the day. They're bangers. I mean, you could go back to 2017 when Joey Logano won. You can go back to 2016, the bump and run with Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch. Those are some pretty damn good races. Richmond in the night, especially with the Gen 6, just doesn't click. It's like Richmond, like, it needs to have like a specific type of like conditioning. And obviously we talked about it like with the tires, you know, there was really no rubber put down last night. But yeah, I think Richmond, it is a short track, obviously, and it can race like a short track, which is why they need to put the race back in the day. They need to have a day race, and they have a night race.
That would make a lot of sense. I mean, get a little more greasy out there, a little more slip, a little slide. Would definitely make it better. Cooler conditions, especially this time of year where it's starting to cool off in the evenings as well, probably doesn't help. A ton of grip out there. So it's just a good combo. Like I said, I mean, I heard there wasn't even any, I mean, besides the stages, I think those were the only two cautions of the night was the stage break. You know, I get it. Now, a lot of the purists on there, we're kind of saying that you have to be a racing, you know, purist to understand that, you know, there's comers and go. And I get it. There are races. I think the Southern 500 is kind of that race every year, right? Like, you know, the Southern 500 is going to be long-winded. But that's what you look for. That and the Coke 600. There's going to be guys that are good early. There's going to be guys that are good late. There's going to be guys that fall off in the middle. The problem is it's hard to have that kind of race back-to-back weeks, especially because it's also hard to have that race at a short track, quote unquote. You know, we get it from Darlington. That's what we expect. That race has been that way for 50 years. At Richmond, you know, 10, 12 years ago, we were having really good races there where you have a guy like Jeremy Mayfield go out and just win a race, make the playoffs or the chase at that time. You have moments like that. And now you don't have anything like that at a short track where we know the capabilities of Richmond. Richmond used to be just as fun of a place, maybe not as fun as like a Bristol or Martinsville, but right up there with it. Short track Saturday night, beating and banging, Pimpers playing, Kevin Harvick, Ricky Rudd, all of them had problems there. I mean, it used to be that place and it hadn't been there in a long time. So I think it's hard to tell a race fan, hey, you just need to be a purist and understand what's going on. When literally I can go to any other short track in the nation and there's people beating their bumpers off, wrecking, racing, excitement. So I get what the purist part of it is, but at the same time, like, this is supposed to be fun, short track, stock car. We go clean and green for 400 laps. So kind of moving on, obviously playoffs. We're 2 races down, 1 to go in the first round. And these things are going to keep clicking off. Fortunately, I will be at Bristol. We'll talk a little more about Bristol here in a couple of minutes. But kind of looking at the playoff grid. So our first 3 are locked in. Harvick, Keselowski, Hamlin. Obviously, Harvick and Keselowski on wins. Hamlin pointed his way in. Joey Logano sits 4th. He's 51 points above the line. Truex is 5th, 38 points to the good. Austin Dillon surprisingly sits 6th, 36 points to the good. Then you go Chase Elliott. He's 28 to the good. Alex Bowman, 27 to the good. Sort of interesting because he's not necessarily safe, and this is what we'll discuss here in just a second. But Kyle Busch, 9th on the grid, only 18 points to the good. So, you know, I think for a guy like Kyle, that's enough. But for a lot of other guys, that may not necessarily be. Then you've got Almirola and Busch, both 7 points to the good. Then where it gets crazy tight is Clint Bowyer is right now in by 3 points over William Byron, who obviously is out by 3 points. Cole Custer is out by 8. Then you got the 2. Well, you got a satellite Penske car and then the Penske car. Matt DiBenedetto and Ryan Blaney both are 25 points plus out. Well, Blaney is 27 points out. So we'll start with Brian. First question we'll ask here is, where do you think the safe line is? You know, where do you kind of say this guy and higher, they're probably good, and who do you have that kind of is below that line that should kind of be worrying headed into Bristol?
I think anywhere up, especially what we saw yesterday. I mean, we're going to 2 short tracks in a row for this playoff round. So the guys like, you know, I see guys like Austin Dillon and all the above. They could be safe. I mean, Truex, Logano. But I think everybody else, though, I mean, it's something to watch out for. I mean, especially the rookie like Cole Custer. I mean, he and currently he's out of the playoffs right now. What, by 7 or 8 points?
Yep, 8 points.
I mean, he was running pretty well. I mean, he was even unlapping himself. Like throughout the whole race yesterday. So, I mean, I think that might be the cutoff. But I think we're going to see more people step up for next race. And one guy that definitely needs to step up is the guy that's behind me right here, Ryan Blaney. I mean, he's practically screwed right now. So, and knowing his luck at Bristol, please, for the love of God, just don't wreck. Because he's had probably some of the worst luck I've seen at Bristol. But, Yeah.
Armani, what you got?
I think that if you're under 30 points, I'd say that you need to watch out. Because we saw back in 2017 when Kyle Larson was like 27 points above the cut line. Then he blows the motor and he's out in the round of 12. So you can, especially in a track like Bristol where lap one shenanigans are known to happen. I mean, Kyle Busch, I'm pretty sure, has been in all the lap one shenanigans up until this point. So Chase and Bowman, they're what, 28, 27 points each? I think they don't need to be as worried. Obviously, it's like someone like Bush or Boyer, but they still need to try to keep it clean. They can't afford to have mistakes. They can't afford to, have to pit under green, like an unscheduled pit stop. Because if they do, especially if it's early in the race, they're going to be in trouble, and then their destiny is pretty much out of their hands. So I think everyone who's 30 points above is pretty much safe. Chase and Bowman, I think they're good, but they still need to watch out. And then everyone on Kyle Busch on down, it's like they're gonna have some restless nights for this last couple weeks or last week.
Yeah, that's kind of where I have my line drawn. My safe line starts with Bowman. Bowman and up, I think, are pretty good. And who would have thought, I had Austin Dillon out in round one. I think everybody and their mother had Austin Dillon out in round one. To me, I don't see how Austin Dillon doesn't make it. I mean, he's literally he's going to have to wreck out in like stage one. I mean, he's 36 points to the good. He's over half of a race good. I mean, he's going to have one of the worst weeks of the year to have a problem. I mean, I think he's easily moving on. And what a surprise to be saying that. I would have never thought I would have said that going through, which is funny because 3 of the 4 guys out right now I would have predicted right. The 4th is Austin Dillon, who's 6th on the grid. Which is pretty crazy. You look at a guy like Boyer. I'd like to see Boyer move on, but he's really not flared. Kurt Busch, I didn't see what happened with Kurt last night. I don't know if he had an issue or not, but Kurt's still kind of Kurt and Clint are almost the same kind of guy. They're quiet. They're sometimes there, but they're really not. Almirola, how consistent he was. Look at him. He's a bad stage or 2 away from potentially being out. Kyle Busch, I just don't see the story of Kyle Busch. Like, would it not be something that Kyle Busch missed the playoffs at a Bristol race? I don't see that happening personally, but he's only 18 points out. If he has one of those early spins and maybe he doesn't get so lucky and there's damage on the car, he could be done. But I agree with Armani. I think Bowman, Elliott, I think those guys just got to really get through stage one, maybe get a couple of points in stage one. Don't just make an idiot out of yourself. Just run smooth, get a top 20 finish. You're going to be fine. Austin Dillon, can't believe I'm saying it, but I think is relatively comfortable. I don't see how he blows this at this point. Truex Logano, Truex is 38 points to the good. He just has to go out there and ride around. Logano's pretty much locked in. He can't go out and finish 38th, but, he just can be himself. So, so the last question on here with the playoffs. So our 4 drivers below the line right now are William Byron, Cole Custer, Matt DiBenedetto, and Ryan Blaney. Start with Brian. Out of those 4, if someone is going to go out and either point their way in or win their way in, which one of those 4 guys are you picking to maybe either leapfrog Clint Boyer or to go to victory lane?
My heart wants to say DiBenedetto, but I have not seen the speed from him lately. He has something has happened to that team, and it's pretty much panic mode. But I could go out on a limb here and say Cole Custer. I was really impressed with what kind of runs he was able to pull off yesterday at Richmond. So I know I might see him lock shot, but he's not too far off. So if he's able to get a few stage points and get back up there and run consistent like he did at Richmond, I think he might be the one to watch out for. So
yeah, wait, Armani.
I'm going to go with the 24 car. Byron's been pretty decent at Bristol. Hendrick has a pretty decent little Bristol package. I'm going to go with Byron. I don't think Blaney, his luck at Bristol is well documented. DiBenedetto, yeah, that's probably his best track, but that team has no momentum at all. Really ever since Michigan, they haven't had any momentum. Custer, he's still a rookie. Like Brian said, he's been doing really solid, but he's still a rookie. Still time to learn. I don't think he's going to make it past this round, but he, just kind of like a learning experience. So I'm going to go with the 24 car. They're only 3 points below the cut line. Like I said, Hendrick has been pretty good at Bristol as of recently. So I think Byron's got a decent shot of making it.
Looking at the list, I would like to say if any of them's going to win, it's going to be Blaney. But I just don't know if the look they're having right now, I don't know if I see them winning. So I think Armani kind of persuaded me. I didn't really have a firm pick besides just saying that Blaney wins. I think, Willie B was in the same position 3 weeks ago, where he's battling for his life. And so, can Chad Knaus out crew Chief? I can't even remember who's on the top. Is it Chad Johnston? I don't remember who's on top of Clint Boyer's box. Can he outwork that crew chief? I would say yes. Do I think Klossmeyer? Do I think Klossmeyer is going to could potentially get outworked by Chad Knaus? Obviously, Chad Knaus is arguably the greatest crew chief of all time, one of the greatest at least. I think in the crew chief department, Knaus wins. Pit crew department, don't know enough to pick one. Relative car-wise, Byron and Boyer pretty much ran near each other all year. There's not really a thing there. So if I'm just picking a side, the only advantage I see is on top of that box. And Chad Knaus went out and out-called guys a few weeks before the playoffs at Dover. Obviously made some good calls at Daytona. And so I'm going to put hands in Chad Knaus and say, can Chad Knaus and William Byron beat Clint Boyer or Kurt Busch? And I would say, yes, they can. So if anybody's going to point their way in, it is definitely going to be Byron. I'd love to see Cole Custer do it. I just don't know. Again, and I didn't get to see last night, so maybe there was things I missed with Cole. I really like Cole. I was telling Armani, they had the worst average finish of any playoff driver. Their average finish the last 4 or 5 weeks was even worse than their already lowest average finish. I didn't expect Cole to make it out of the first round. I think Cole's just, it's a good year for Cole, the fact that he won a race and made the playoffs. DiBenedetto has been very disappointing. I really would like to, I think everybody wants to see Matt win. I think the guy I want to win the most in the garage. And I'm even a Bubba Wallace fan, and I still would rather Matt DiBenedetto win a race before Bubba. I just don't see it happening. One of that. So Willie B on his way in, but if anybody's going to win, it's going to be Blaney. And that kind of moves us to our next discussion, which is the previewing Bristol. Obviously, we have the night race coming up this coming Saturday. Can't wait. This will finally be my first NASCAR race in person. Typically, I go at the latest to the Coke 600 in May, so I've never had to wait this long to go to a race. So we'll start with Brian. What are kind of your expectations? Who do you think we should watch out for at Bristol, and what do you expect from the night race next week?
I mean, heck, when it comes to Bristol, man, we saw what happened at the spring race. It was, very entertaining, very exciting, and we even had a nice little confrontation after the race. So, do we think we're going to see that happening? As much as I love drama, I think we probably will, man. I think we will, because it's a cutoff race. Tempers are going to flare. We didn't really see it we didn't really see it with this weekend at Richmond, but I think Bristol's going to make it up. But I think Ford is going to find a way to go and get a win, because Clint Boyer, man, he might be a guy to watch out for, because he finished second, I think, last time at the Bristol race, if I'm not mistaken.
After the situation with Elliott and Logano, I think he did get a second or third place finish.
Yeah, I don't know, man. We could see probably another surprise winner maybe as well to shake this whole playoff system out. But I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be quite the hype train, though.
I'm sure it will be. Armani, what you got?
I think we're going to see the exact opposite race that we saw from Richmond. Richmond was like the tamest short track race of all time. This is going to be the most wildest short track race of all time. We saw what happened in the spring race, just a regular race. And look, Chase Elliott basically, sent him and Joey Logano to Havana. So we might see something crazier than that this race, especially if it's a cutoff race. Can Kyle Busch finally get his first win of the year? Can, like Brian said, someone like Clint Boyer make a pound? Can Ryan Blaney finally, finish a Bristol race and, try to sneak his way to the win? So it's going to be very interesting. We're going to have a lot of headlines going into the race. A lot of guys who are good at this track on the outside looking in on the bubble. So we're going to see a very intriguing Richmond race.
Yeah, I think Bristol is going to be crazy. The night race in general has been really good the last couple of years. We finally kind of got the night race back. We had lost it for a few years, but I remember it was a couple years ago. Was Kurt Busch won or whatever? It was just that. And then last year, I remember it being a fairly decent race, pretty good. The night race has really felt like it's not the night race that it used to be last couple of years. And now, obviously, this year, add the playoffs, just even if it wasn't a cutoff race, then add that it's a cutoff race. I think it'll be pretty fun. I surely hope we get the opposite. This may be my only NASCAR race of the year. I'm going to try to go to a couple other if they allow fans, but if I'm going to go, I hope it's a hell of a show. I think the guys, there's so many guys you got to watch. Could Joey Logano and Chase Elliott, if they're late in a race and one of the two are trying to win a race, could somebody force their hand? Logano kind of put it back. Same instance, if Chase is behind Mark Truex Jr., they're not angry with each other, but they both understand what happened at Darlington. But in that situation, is Chase going to use the chrome horn in that situation and say, "Remember Darlington"? You never know what could happen there. And then I think two guys you've got to keep your eye on is Ryan Blaney and Matt DiBenedetto. Ryan Blaney has done nothing but lead laps there most of his time with Penske. He just can't. They haven't been able to get the job. And I remember the other couple of years ago when it's like he'd led a ton of laps and then like a lap car wreck. I mean, it was just everything crazy that could happen to Blaney. I think the whole track got blocked, and at that point, I mean, he just got sent up into the wall. Earlier this year up front, then goes too high, spins, wrecks the car. Then I forgot who else that hit him right there on the side. Blaney's good here. Blaney will be a favorite going in, especially with a lot of pressure. And I think this is going to be a big race that can define who Ryan Blaney is moving forward. I mean, his back is by far against the wall. There's no gaining 27 points. It's not going to happen. He has to 100% win the race. Can he do it? We've seen guys do it before. We've seen guys like Kevin Harvick and Brad Keselowski do it, which are season-defining moments. This is, I will say this: if Ryan Blaney can go out and win Bristol, it'll impress me a bunch. I think it'll shut up a lot of doubters. I don't really call myself a doubter, but it would be a huge mark for him. I mean, it would be to this point in his career a marquee moment in his career. I mean, the Pocono win was pretty damn impressive with the Wood brothers. It's hard to beat that. But to go out when you've been running like dog mess the last month of the season and back against the wall and wins huge. And then obviously the feel-good story, Matt DiBenedetto. If Matt DiBenedetto, I mean, hell, I'll probably cry if Matt DiBenedetto wins. I mean, because I know he's going to. I just love to see it. I still remember, and every now and then I watched that interview from him last year at this race, and it gives me chills to think about it. And I'd love for him to do it, and I'm sure they are going to throw the kitchen sink at it. But unfortunately, I think there's still too many hungry hands. If this was just a regular night race, maybe before the playoffs, I actually feel like he'd have a better shot then. I think not only is he having to win his first race, but he's also having to try to win his first race when literally everybody around him needs a win. And I think that's going to be kind of the defining moment. So with that being said, let's roll with it. I don't know if you guys have been able to think about it yet, but winning predictions. Brian, I know it's early. It's a week away. And hell, something may happen this week that changes your mind. But for right now, what is your winner prediction for Bristol next week?
I'm throwing a biased opinion out there. I mean, he is my second favorite driver in NASCAR. And, you kind of persuaded me now to probably go for him. And I probably would cry, if one of these two guys go for it. But Ryan Blaney, man, if it's a time to step up in the playoffs, it's this race, man. I mean, otherwise, we probably can't see him being a championship contender. I mean, it's by default by now. So I'm hoping Blaney gets it done, but we'll see what happens, man. Anything can happen at Bristol.
I'm going with this Penske team, and I'm going with Joey Logano, barring any incidents. I think Logano, he's really good at Bristol. Won the Bristol Night Race, I believe, back in 2015. He won the Bristol Night Race in a dominating fashion.
Yeah, he killed.
So
that
race. I think Logano, he's finally going to get himself that third win of the season, and yeah, I think Ford gets another dub.
I'll be honest. I do think Logano is a very good pick. I've had a feeling about Logano when I'm thinking about who am I going to pick to win this race. Logano crossed my mind a ton. The guy I'm going to go with though is it's about time Kyle Busch finds victory lane. These are the moments where I'm telling people I'm not going to believe Kyle Busch cannot make the Final Four until he is sitting at home. We got this place right here. I think this is going to be a place where he can go win. I mean, did he finish top 5 last night? I think. I mean, he ran pretty solid last night. From what I saw, he was running 5th or 6th most of the night. That team is slowly clicking around. They're slowly tuning some things up, running top 10, running top 5. And eventually, I mean, it's going to be hard for me to picture him going an entire season without a win. We're close. We're only 8 races left, but I think this is one of his best shots to go out there and kind of the storyline going into the night could be, is Kyle Busch going to fall out too? He's got this on lockdown. He's going to win. He's on to the next round. So I'm picking Kyle Busch to win it. Now, personally, biased-wise, I hope I'm wrong. All right, I'll be there in person. I'd love to see the 9 car go to victory lane. Be the first time I've ever seen my driver win, and I've been going to races since 2002. So I never got to see Gordon win. I haven't got to see Elliott win. It'd be cool to see that happen. But Kyle Busch going to victory lane. So now let's get to the fun part. the fun part that everybody wanted to talk about a little bit. I know, Brian, you're huge in kind of the diecast realm and stuff. So for one, what is it about diecast that you enjoy, and how'd you get into it?
I mean, heck, diecast collecting, man, it's practically what got me into NASCAR. I mean, I had diecast dealers when I grew up and all that. I mean, I always moved around because I moved around a lot when I was little, growing up in the military, what we call military brat. Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's why I like collecting the NASCAR Authentics cars, because I mean that brings back so many great memories. That's where practically I got all my diecast at Walmart when I was like this little. So, but yeah, I mean just the diecast, man. I mean just like what like Lionel usually says, they're like the jersey for NASCAR, right? Like all the jerseys are for an NFL and all the other sports. Diecast are for the NASCAR fans. At least I so far every NASCAR fan I met, they have at least one diecast. So, but yeah, it's just a huge passion I always loved, man. And there was one point in the 2009, I stopped watching NASCAR, and ironically, the thing that got me back to NASCAR was collecting diecasts in 2010. So it's practically, and that's just been my thing ever since.
I remember so many cool moments. I remember how old I was. I started watching about 2002, and it was either for Christmas or my birthday or something. I believe these are the first ever diecast I ever got. I don't remember what it was. They had these like little trading cards with the drivers and stuff. Not trading, but they were like a hard plastic.
Yeah.
And parents had got me. It was like 7 or 8 diecast cars, the little 164s, and it was Gordon's Flame car, Harvick's full silver and black Goodwrench, Tony Stewart's Pontiac, Bobby Labonte's Pontiac. I want to say maybe a Robbie Gordon 31 Singular Wireless. And it was just a core kind of bunch, dude. And that's my first memory. And I used to get $5 a week from allowance for barely doing anything. I would spend it immediately when we go grocery shopping on Saturday on a little car. I remember hiding diecast, like, I ain't got $5. I'm gonna throw this under here and hopefully get back next week. I remember this cool Bobby Labonte 164 that was people forget like how much NASCAR stuff used to be out. Like it was a test car. And if you put it in cold water, it would turn gray. And if you put it in hot water, the color would change to his paint scheme. I mean, it was badass.
Yeah, I used to have a Kevin Harvick one. I got that one at Dollar General, and I want to find that because I remember that car. Like, we need more diecasts like that.
I think I ended up giving this one kid at a racetrack a bag of like 50 or 60 of them. He just kept pestering me, and they're my parents' house. I'm not using them. Let me pass it on to the next kid who's going to play with race cars. But I've still got a bunch of them somewhere. Nowadays, I keep them in the pack. I've got like 15 or 20 of them out in the garage. I just eventually, when I quit being lazy and build my man cave, they'll all be up. I'm not gonna lie, it hurts me sometimes. There's some times where I really just want to tear them out of the pack and roll in the floor with them for an hour, but I can't. You can't do that. When you're in your mid-20s, you can't do that anymore. So, Armani, I'm sure you got to have some good memories with diecast. Is there one that you remember kind of kicking it all off?
Man, I remember mine was weird because I remember the rugs where it's like the oval rug. I remember I take my diecast. I remember take like my Junior, my Gordon, my Johnsons. I just do it all over that little track. The weird thing is the number one memory I have of diecast is, for anyone who knows me, especially on Twitter, I'm probably one of the biggest fans of the movie Speed Racer that there is out there. So they used to make die-casts of the movie cars, and if you know what those cars look like, they look sick. They're fantastic, folks, believe me. So I remember it's like, so in the movie, like in the movies, they're jumping, they're beating and banging, they're crashing into each other. So I would do that with the cars. So if you saw those cars, they were scraping. Those are like my favorite memories, just because it's like, the way I did is I try to make it follow, if I had a Cars diecast, I try to follow it who's gonna be up front. Obviously Lightning McQueen, Chick Hicks are gonna be up front more than the 52 car. Or in NASCAR, you're gonna have, of course, I'm gonna have Dale Jr. at front. I'm gonna have Tony Stewart at dead last. But my number one favorite memories are just playing the diecast with those Speed Racer cars, just because I love that movie so much. It's a very underrated movie. Everyone should watch it. Fight me. And just those diecasts, they're just. I need to get a 124 in the Mach 5 and the Mach 6, man. Those were the best times.
Dude, I remember I used to do this, and then we'll get into the actual talking part of this. Is I remember I'd get all my diecast cars out, 30 or 40 of them, and I'd lay them out on the carpet, have them in their pit stalls, I'm like, I finally got everything set up. I'll even qualify them one by one and like just make up. Like, of course, Jeff Gordon was on the pole most of the time, or either I was driving the 24 car and I was on the pole. All this kind of stuff, and then I'd sit there after I spent the last 45 minutes arranging these cars, qualifying all this, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to run the race. I'm going to run all 400 laps. I'll run about 7 of them. I'm like, I'm good. Here's who pack them all, throw them out. The one time I ever remember actually doing a bunch of laps, I don't even know why, because I hated Dale Jr. when I was little. And I had the little, you couldn't say Budweiser, so it said Dale Jr., the old school from like 2002. And I just, in my living room, went like 400 laps with his car, just nonstop. And it was the one time ever I think I did all like laps. I remember I would keep up with like a little point standings. At one point I tried to dabble in like some slow motion stuff like that and all that, but or stop motion stuff. But what we were going to talk about is obviously the reason we thought that Brian was perfect for this episode is one of the biggest kind of diecast discussions of the year is what comes off of Throwback Weekend, because those are some of the best paint schemes of the year. So we wanted to get your take, Brian. You can kind of kick us off. We're all going to go through and say, what were our 3 favorite cars or paint schemes that you would like a die cast of? Obviously, no one has any because they haven't made any of these yet. So we'll start with Brian. What are 3 throwback 2020 paint schemes that you personally either plan on purchasing or would like to purchase in the future?
Well, one right off the bat, I don't think it's going to happen because, we rarely have this team, get licensed merchandise. I'm really digging J.J. Yaley's Kenny Irwin throwback. That was really cool, dude. And what's even cooler is that what's even cooler, guys, that car actually ran again at Richmond. It just had a different logo on it. So I was like, hey, that looks familiar. So, but yeah, I mean, that right there. I mean, I love when small teams do that, man. We saw it with Landon Castle, with the Silver Bullet throwback last year, Sterling Marlin. But that one, man, really stood out.
I take Silver Bullet is the best throwback pulled off so far.
Mm-hmm. Man, Starkow, man. That was probably the only good thing they had for that team right there, that throwback. No offense.
From the Silver Bullet to trying to pit in the middle of Delana, Texas.
Yeah.
Oh, Lordy. I'll probably go out on a limb here, man, but I'm really, I mean, this is kind of obvious. I was really digging Alex Bowman's Jimmy Johnson throwback right there. That right there, I have so many great memories of that. I mean, I'm sure we all did. I remember cussing that car so many times. I'm like, I'm done. This guy winning 5 championships, I'm done. I reached quit to NASCAR after 08, but I mean, still was good memories though. But that's cool that we're going to get I mean, that's on pre-order as well. And I believe Brett Moffitt, he ran I think at the Richmond race that we had this week, he was running a throwback of that scheme as well. So we're getting 2 of those bad boys. But yeah, I really love that one. And probably my last one, I will have to say that I don't know, man. I'm probably biased again. I really do like Ryan Blaney's Menards.
Nice. Armani, what you thinking?
My 3, I mean, I kind of mentioned in last week's episode, but the first one I'm going to mention is Michael Annette's Oreo car. I know it's an Xfinity car, but that car just looks so good.
Mm-hmm.
That is top 3 throwbacks of all time right there. You can fight me on that. Just the paint scheme is beautiful. They brought Oreo back. You can't get any more perfect. You can't get any more perfect.
Did you see the camera box on top of the car?
No,
I saw that.
You can go. It's on. I can't remember the crew chief's name, but you can look from like a week ago. They made the camera box literally look like an Oreo sitting on the car.
Yeah, I think I retweeted that. I was like, dude, that's creativity on a whole other level. But I mean, heck, that's cool that they brought back. That was that second year in a row. They got the actual sponsor to come back. They did with Baby Ruth and now Oreo. So
yeah,
man, Junior Motorsports, man, guys, I love it. They've had a lot of great throwbacks this year. I will say.
Yeah.
My second one, like you said, Alex Bowman. That's my favorite Jimmy Johnson paint scheme of all time. So that's the one I'm going to have to go for. I will say, the 9 car looked amazing, arguably better than the 88 car under the lights. I don't know if it's because of how the font looked or the little red in between it, but the 9 car looked beautiful under the lights. I'll admit that. So I might have to switch the 9 to 88 around, but I'm a little more biased towards the 88 just because that's my favorite all-time JJ paint scheme. And the last one, speaking of JJ, it's the Frankenstein 7-time champ creation. It's actually the number one. It doesn't even look that bad. It actually looks pretty decent. And number 2, just the history of that car. is just 7-time champ wheeling that car, and you have Dale Earnhardt and Richard Petty. I remember my cousin Anthony, like he told me that he met Richard Petty a couple times, and Dale Earnhardt, he was my mother's favorite driver. So, like just the history of that car, especially what it means to my family, just I need that die cast.
I'm really curious to see what this cross looks like, because the renders, I was like, I don't know about this in person, or not in person, but on TV, the car looked really good. Really intrigued to see how the die cast looks. But mine, Armani hit on it. Chase Elliott is my number. I'm biased, but I love the paint scheme. I think what made his better than Bowman is that the font of the 88 is really tight.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't even really tell that it was an 88, to be honest. You kind of were just like, we know it's 88 because we know it's Bowman. But you have the big number 9 right there. It looked good in the neon yellow, which I don't know why Hendrick doesn't run more neon yellow when the scheme kind of calls for it sometimes. So Elliott's on mine. I put Blaney's on here kind of biased because I was a Paul Menard fan for forever. So I wasn't a fan of Menard when he ran that scheme because I didn't know who Paul was at the time. I remember it in some of the old video games. So I thought that was pretty cool. Who would have ever thought that Paul Menard would have a Cup Series throwback? How epic is that? And then I had J.J. Yaley on here, but another small team I'll give a shout-out to is Timmy Hill and that team. That Phil Parsons Skull Bandit car was pretty damn good.
Oh, dude.
They executed that very well. I know a lot of people are probably going to go get the Ross Chastain Dale Sr. throwback, which was also a pretty damn good throwback.
Mm-hmm.
Those are mine from this year. Now, kind of looking outside of all of throwbacks, just what are some die cast, and this can be from this year, 2 of mine are from this year, that I have on this. So what are 3 die casts that just in general are out there or are coming that you don't have that you want to add to your collection?
Well, there's one die cast that should have been made, and I was a big fan of this guy, Carl Everett's Texas final win. They should have. They should have made that, guys. I think I had to do something with the sponsor. I mean, Sport Clips, man, they've been very a hit or miss when it comes to die cast. Not as bad as Monster. I mean, we've seen this year how bad Monster Energy is. They're trying to get, licensing rights for die cast. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed that was never offered because that was his final win. And before Truex was my guy, it was Edwards. So, yeah, I mean, and these other 2 picks are kind of biased too. There's one die cast that I should have freaking got because it's the final furniture roll car that was made. It's not his Homestead car, but it was the Sherry Strong car. That thing dried up like a mother sucker, dude. I mean, I've never seen like a die cast that dried up that quickly, man. And just that teal blue. I mean, I'm glad we're getting this year's for pre-order, but just God, I miss that Furniture Row 78 font so much, man. But hopefully someday that'll be in this die cast room soon. I don't know. Probably for my final one, probably go for another Furniture Row car. Maybe Truex's final Furniture Row car from Homestead. I love that they brought back the classic Furniture Row scheme, not that Frankenstein scheme that we had in 2018, which I didn't mind.
I wanted them to bring back the original Furniture Row car with the white, the tan, the cream, and burgundy. That's what everybody was waiting for.
Yeah, it was kind of disappointing, especially with the playoff emojis that were on there too. Don't get me started on those, but I mean, I don't know, man. Hopefully, if there's some custom makers out there, maybe I could get those too. It seems like that's the only best bet right now. But yeah, all biased picks, but I got it right to be Truex and Edwards fan right here. So
there you go, Armani. What about you?
My top 3, number 1, my all-time favorite paint scheme. It's kind of a random one. Dale Jr.'s 2007 Elvis car. I don't know why.
Ruby.
I love how that car looks. I don't know what it is. It's just that car is just pure sex. That's what that car is. That's what that car is. I love that car. Like, it would have made it better if they put white wheels on it. That would just made it.
Oh, dude, that would be really nice. I mean, they talk about a sexy car right there.
Number 2, Jimmy Johnson's 2016 Homestead win, just because that was the first NASCAR race I actually ever went to in person. I went there with my dad. So, to see one of my favorite drivers, get his 7th title, historic moment in NASCAR. I'm pissed I didn't pre-order the diecast. Then again, I wasn't really into diecast collecting that much at then. So, I mean, they're not that expensive. They're like $80-ish. So surprisingly, from what I can find. Then again, I haven't looked in like forever. And the last one is the next year's champion, Mark Truex Jr.'s car, just because I went to that race too, obviously. I've been to every Homestead race from 2016 to 2019. Couldn't go in 2020, obviously. But I love that paint scheme. To see Truex just, out drive Kyle Busch was pretty damn awesome. And, it was a feel-good story for Truex to win that championship.
Well, I always thought that 78 car looked pretty damn sharp. The full black and then with the orange with Bass Pro, I thought that was a pretty badass scheme the whole time. All three of mine are definitely biased. I will at least pick up one of these this weekend at Bristol if as long as they've got souvenirs and they've got them. It'll be either number one or number two. My number one that I really want, and I haven't had the extra money to do it, and I do now. I could easily do it now. I just got to find it, and I'm having a hard time finding any websites that have this. So Brian may actually be a help to this if he mentions me later. Is the Noah Gragson Bass Pro Shops Black Rifle blah 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 scheme with the camo and stuff that he won at Daytona with. I don't even necessarily want the Daytona win version. I just want the car. I think that has been my favorite paint scheme of this year. It does help that I'm a Noah Gragson fan. Now I will say I only pretty much am going to buy die cast of my drivers. I'm not a guy that will go out and just go buy, a Jimmy Johnson car, even though I think the Ally scheme is pretty badass. So, that's why all my picks are probably biased. So the Noah Gragson car, I love that car. I wish they would have had a throwback because I'm sure it would have been killer. But that car was awesome. Second is the Chase Elliott Hooters Night Owl. Really cool car. I think a lot of people really loved that car when it came out. I haven't tried to buy that one. I figure most likely because I probably won't be able to find the Gragson Bass Pro Shops car unless Brian's able to give me a hookup over here where I need to look. The Hooters car, I'm sure will probably be around, even if it's just at the Chase Elliott, kind of the souvenir thing. So I'll probably at least pick up that one this weekend. And then my third one. Now this one, I don't know. I love the colors because I like bright colors. That's why I was a Paul Menard fan for forever. Is Gordon ran this car one time in like 2013 at Talladega. It's the Imran car. I don't know if people remember that car, but you can look it up. It's a black front end and a neon yellow and orange rear, and it was gorgeous. I think he wrecked it, or it was nothing special, but it was badass. I love that scheme, but people online are wanting like $200 for them. I don't think many of them were made. Pretty badass car. So this last thing we'll do, and then we'll get out of here because I know it's close to kickoff and close to work time for Armani. Right now, you don't have to show it because I don't necessarily have my favorite diecast here. But what would you say is your favorite diecast you have, and do you have a cool story behind it?
I mean, I already got it right here, so I mean, hate to be that guy, but this is my all-time favorite scheme and my all-time favorite driver. Carl Leverage's 2011 All-Star win, Elite.
I was at that race. That's the one that hit the drain, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, I mean, they couldn't replicate the damage, but I mean, heck, the amount of quality, man, and heck, I think I only paid $90 for this thing, which, not too bad for the quality. I mean, this quality that we have now, man, it's nowhere near as this, but I just remember I wanted that car so bad, and I was a huge Edwards fan back then, and we need to have a throwback of that Apple scheme one of these days. If Roush can do it or something, man, I'm going to buy every one of their sales for that pre-order.
I think I was at that race, and I think I magically looked over, and I'm like, did he just hit something?
My favorite one is my 2004 Dale Jr. Daytona 500 win. I actually kind of have a little shrine of that race, if that makes any sense. I got like a poster of it with like a chunk of the track when it was actually a chunk of like the Daytona International Speedway, on it. I got the 164. I got the 124. I think I even got like a button of it also. Like I got like this little 2004 Dale Jr. Daytona 500 shrine. It makes no sense. I've got the poster. I remember I got the 164, and then I just thought to myself, what the hell? I just got like a little shrine of this little event. I'm like, what the hell? And that's actually I believe that's my only race version diecast too. So that's my favorite by far. And I'm a big Dale Jr. guy.
I don't know if this is my favorite. It's a pretty cool story. So it was 2007, first year of the COT, the first ever COT plate race at Talladega. Jeff Gordon ran a white flamed Pepsi car. Ran it one time, won in it one time. So ran it, won in it, and really made a really cool move on Jimmy Johnson to win that race late in the going. He wins that race. And the way I got the diecast is my dad, there used to be a diecast shop that was like my childhood heaven. And I'm literally, now that I bought a house literally 5 minutes from it, but it's closed. It closed earlier this year. I hadn't been in years, but it really hadn't updated. He had all a bunch of old stuff, so pretty much everybody that grew up our age would lose their minds in there. But I only got to go there 3 or 4 times in my life, but when I went, I mean, it was heaven. I'd be in there for an hour, and my dad would do some work for him, some little maintenance work, and in return, he would like lower some price of stuff. So one time, my dad worked on something, and he said, "Well, here, just give your son this." And so he comes in, and the die cast is that die cast autographed on the hood, completely free. It was like a $200 die cast. He gave it to my dad for free for doing work, and it was pretty cool. I got a bunch of stuff from there. There's still a bunch of stuff in that building that's just closed, and it sucks to see that happen, but pretty badass. And hoping going to get one of these 3 on my list this weekend, hopefully. So, with that being said, appreciate everybody listening. Definitely appreciate Brian coming on and talking. We'll have to have him back on. Hopefully, we'll get some more info. Hopefully, he can hook me up on this Noah Gregson diecast because I got to find this bad boy. See where
I can diecast shit.
You got to buy him now. But with that being said, I think is it at Original Big Bry?
Yep, you got it.
Yeah, at Original Big Bry on Twitter. Make sure you go follow him. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna go follow him after this. I know we've had to communicate a little bit on there. And then we're gonna go enjoy some football today. Except Armani. Poor Armani has to go to work here on a Sunday at 1. But for
just kick Cam Newton's ass. That's all I ask.
For Brian, good luck to your Bills. Obviously, I want my Panthers to win, and hopefully the Patriots wreck Armani's Dolphins today. So we'll see y'all next time. Appreciate y'all listening. See ya.
All right.